Hello, and today I'm really chuffed to be joined by Lauren Penn. This is a bit of a different episode for us today. I discovered lovely Lauren on a group called Lightbulb in Facebook, and she wants very much to tell her story, and it's not going to be a particularly light-hearted episode, I don't think. But there's a hugely positive ending to it. But Lauren wants to tell her story to be able to help other people. So let me introduce Lauren. Lauren, thank you for joining me, first of all.
Okay.
So Lauren is a small business owner, mama to two children under two, so she's quite clearly completely bonkers. But more importantly, she's a survivor of child sexual abuse at the hands of her HIV positive father. After speaking out herself, she wants to empower other men and women that have suffered the same or similar ordeals. And I thought it would be useful to any of you who've either been in a similar position to Lauren, or you're divorcing somebody who has had a similar impact on one of your children. So, Lauren, can I start by asking you just to tell us a bit about your story?
So like you said, when I was 14 years old, I was abused by my dad. He's also HIV positive. And that went on for around 6 months. He then got taken into custody because my mum discovered what was happening. At the time he was taken into custody, it had stopped, but kind of looking back now, I realize it probably hadn't stopped. It had probably paused rather than stopped. But yeah, then he was in prison for 4 years and then served the rest of his sentence on license, and that's due to end in May. So he's really quite close to finishing his sentence.
How are you feeling about that?
Um, I at the start I wasn't too concerned about it kind of ending because he's got a SOPO in place, which means that he can't contact me directly or indirectly, even when his sentence finishes. But I was kind of always under the impression that with that, it meant that he couldn't live in the same area as me. But I've more recently found out that that's not actually the case. So that's kind of caused a bit more anxiety because he could move back to the area I live in. And although he can't contact me, there's nothing stopping him from kind of, I guess, loitering about.
Yeah, of course. That must be really frightening.
Yeah.
So, if I don't want to dig up too many demons, but once your mum found out, she, by the sound of it, is a very brave lady as well, and she contacted the police straight away, did she?
So I think she was just in shock, to be honest. She phoned her health visitor, obviously knowing she would then have to kind of call the police. But I think she was very concerned about how I would react because she knew that I'd obviously be distressed about everything coming out and kind of surfacing. So her health visitor actually said, well, why don't I make the phone call so that way you're not having to be the one to kind of turn her life upside down, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah.
So the health visitor then agreed to call the police and everything. My mum then actually phoned my dad and confronted him, and he admitted to everything. And he said that he would wait to be taken into custody, and that's what he did. He didn't run or anything like that. He stayed in his flat, and yeah, he pleaded guilty from the offset, so his sentence got reduced from 12 to 8 years.
Crikey. And were your parents divorced at the time?
They never actually married. So my dad left when my mum was pregnant. So I never actually met my dad until I was 11.
Right. Okay. Yeah. But they weren't living together.
No.
Okay. It must have been so hard. And In terms of what happened afterwards, what support were you offered, and what did you take?
At the time, I was very much like, I didn't want help at all. Like, any help that was kind of offered to me, like I had social workers and like was offered counselling and things, but although I was kind of made to do it, I just didn't engage with it at all. Like, I had no interest in talking to people.
Yeah.
Um, I did get given a through a social worker, I got given a lady who like specifically specialized in like child exploitation and things. I think she's the like one person that I actually engaged with and like spoke to. Like even now, like we're not like officially like working like together, but like we still stay in touch, and like she's coming to my wedding and things like that.
Oh,
I think she's like definitely been like instrumental to kind of helping me move through it.
she sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
How did you find her? She was through a social worker, did you say?
Yeah, so she was a like, I don't know if she would be considered a psychologist or what, but like a specialist that was given like privately, and then she kind of made the decision to that she was happy to keep in touch with me, even though like our work had officially kind of finished like through social workers.
Bless her, she sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
So how how long did it take of working with her before you felt able to tell your story publicly?
I so everything happened when I was 14. Um I hadn't like my like close family members knew like as a result of like my dad obviously being taken into custody. But other than that, I hadn't really spoken to anyone. I think kind of the turning point for me personally was when I had my own daughter. And I think it really kind of hit home because I just looked at her, I was like, how could you do that? And I was just kind of so overwhelmed with love for her, and I just couldn't comprehend how he could have done that.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. Um, I know you've talked about wanting to empower the people who've been in a similar position.
Yeah.
What's driving that?
I think just like personally, obviously, I have struggled and stuff as a result of what's happened, but I want other people to know that although they've been through like terrible things, it doesn't have to be the end, and you can still achieve things and flourish in what you're doing and things like they don't have to win and keep that hold over you.
Absolutely. Is that what it feels like? Does it feel like if you don't make the most of yourself that he will have won?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Oh, fantastic. So what are you do, just so that we've got that kind of, we've got the negative start, but positive, from a positive perspective, you obviously absolutely adore your children, but you've also got business as well.
Yeah, so
So
I own my own business, like selling like a range of paper goods like home decor and nursery art, stationery, um, and that's been going like really well. And I finished my degree as well, which is
amazing.
great.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you're getting married as well.
Yeah, in August.
That's really positive things. Do you feel that what happened to you has impacted your relationships?
Yeah, I would say so. Like, especially as a teenager, like my relationships were very kind of unstable, and I would be in quite a lot of, I guess, unhealthy relationships because I think I had like issues with attachment and stuff. I wasn't able to kind of recognize like, okay, this person's treating me badly and that's not okay. I was very much like, well, at least there's somebody there. Um, and again, with like trust issues as well, I think it definitely impacts that.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, bless you. And was it working with the lady that you talked about before that helped you through that, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think she's probably been kind of the only person that, like I said, that I've really engaged with. Like more recently, I've now kind of started trauma focused like therapy, but it's only been very like recently,
Yeah.
like since choosing to kind of speak out, that I've been like, well, if I'm going to speak out and tell people that they can improve and move past things and stuff, then I obviously need to be doing that work for myself as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But you sound like doing amazingly. Um, I mean, just speaking out takes an incredible amount of bravery, I think. Um, if if you were in the position that your mum was in, are the things that she, I suppose to start with, are the things that the signs that you feel that she could have picked up on earlier to understand what was going on?
Um, I don't think like it's not something that you would ever expect of anyone kind of at all. Like what happened is just completely kind of abhorrent. Like you wouldn't expect that of anybody. Um, I think she did know kind of something was going on with me. Like she said like that she could see like I was quite withdrawn and things, but obviously she had no idea that the reason for it was my dad and what had happened. Um, I was having like issues with drugs and stuff at the time, so I feel like she believed it was more focused around that rather than what was actually going on.
Yeah, I guess one thing could quite easily lead to the other, couldn't it? Really. Wow. And if you were in your mum's shoes and wanted to and found out that was happening to your daughter, what what advice would you give to your mum to be able to help you in the best possible way?
I'm not even sure really. Like I looking back now, like I feel kind of awful to my mum because at the time I was very angry. Um, but I can't even imagine now as a mum like what that would have felt like. And I know my mum carries a lot of guilt with it, thinking like, oh, I should have protected her, like I should have stopped it. But like I've kind of told her more recently, there was no way she could have known like that guilt isn't hers to kind of bear.
Yeah, yeah, that's really sweet of you to feel like that. I guess as a mum, well, any as a parent, in most cases, we want to protect our children from anything bad, don't we? I mean, yours a little teeny, but even then, you stopping them bumping their head or
Yeah.
picking them up when they cry, and this is like can't I can't even imagine what you both went through. Um, is there anything in particular that you want to get across, that you want to um make sure anybody is aware of who's been through a similar ordeal to you?
um I feel like a lot with like survivors of abuse, they often hold a lot of shame about like what's happened, and I guess just to tell people that that shame is completely not theirs. Like you can't hold shame for things that somebody else has done to you. Like it's not in any way like their fault. And I think like I definitely struggled with shame like for a long time, and it's just not yours to have. Like it's the perpetrator who should be feeling that shame and that guilt and all the kind of negative emotions that you kind of put yourself through.
Yeah, absolutely. Crikey, yeah. And just to kind of um I don't know, add to that, lack that feeling that you shouldn't be feeling shame. Since you started telling your story, what's the reaction been like from the people that you've spoken to?
It's been it's been like really, really positive. Like before kind of speaking to the papers, like I get quite anxious anyway, and I think I'd really kind of built myself up for the fact that there would be trolls or there would be like some negative comments. But so far, like I haven't experienced that at all, which has been really nice. And it's been quite moving as well, like just the amount of people that have like shown support, but also the amount of people that have been like, I've experienced something similar and like this has really helped me.
Yeah, I think it's an absolute remarkable thing that you're doing, Lauren. Speaking out, especially when you struggle with anxiety anyway, to come out and speak out and speak to, you know, the papers and come on and guest on our podcast. I'm really touched that you agreed to do it, and I know that your story will help lots of people. Is there anything else you want to add?
Um, Not that I can think of, no.
Okay. You've been absolutely amazing. I'm sure you're going to inspire so many people, and your story is so incredibly positive. I'm so glad that you've come out of what you've been through it with such a positive head, and two fantastic little girls now, and really hope that your business goes super well. We'll put your link to. Have you got a website?
Yeah.
Fantastic. We'll put your website link in the show notes so that if anybody wants to go and see what you're up to, they can have a look and get ordering some of your fabulous stuff. Thank you so much for joining me, Lauren. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.